This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Most businesses think they have a marketing problem, when in reality, they have a clarity problem. Today's guest has generated 9 figures in revenue through ads, but what makes him different is this. He refuses to play the typical agency game. From being a national level fiddle champion to a performance marketing strategist, Vi Wickam brings a completely different lens to marketing, one rooted in transparency, psychology, and actually understanding your audience. If you've ever felt like you're spending money on ads but not really owning your growth, this episode's for you. Welcome to the show, Vi. I'm really excited to talk about this. You're right on my level.
Thank you, Sasha. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. So, Vi, I have to start here. Fiddle champion to marketing strategist. How does that even happen?
Well,
and generating 9 figures, to say the least, in revenue. Maybe there's something about that fiddle that correlates with finances.
Well, what I will say is I was born in a musical family.
Okay.
So the question wasn't, are you going to play music? It was, which instrument are you going to play? And as you can see, we've got a family band portrait back there from when I was about 11 years old. So
that one behind you, right?
That one behind me.
That's cool.
Loads of fun. But I do think there are lessons that I learned from playing in a band, from playing music, that apply to marketing, that apply to business. And it's not that one led me to the other. But they are two things that I really love, and they both really tie back to listening and paying attention to what other people are saying and responding in kind.
So would we say things maybe like pattern recognition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite things about being a fiddler is fiddle tunes are all about patterns.
Yes.
And so is data, and being in digital marketing, being able to see those patterns, which in fiddling, I'm always listening for those patterns and feeling those patterns in my fingers. It really is using a similar part of my mind, which most people wouldn't think that, but it really is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go far out on a limb here, but I'm obviously assuming you guys played a lot in public. So maybe reading audiences, reading markets.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And, there's nothing worse than being up on stage and you're playing and it's dead on the audience. They're not responding. You really have to see what's landing with the audience. And if you play a song, and they weren't engaged, but now they're engaged, you need to know this is what they're digging, and we need more of this.
Yes.
So you have to shift your direction for what the audience is really looking for.
I love
whether
that.
It's marketing or music.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, I love this because in life in general, there's so much connection and correlation, and it's just being creative enough to put it together. And I think knowing, just the fact that you come from a creative background really, really supports. I mean, I was an attempted musicianist in piano and in guitar, but like I would fight my mother to practice. But at the end of the day, yeah. but I think I fought a little too hard, where she was just like, okay, I'm done,
up.
Yeah. And I used to hit those keys really hard when I was practicing. So it wasn't even like she enjoyed my practice. But, also moving into college, and being a designer, but then later on going into the business side and having both the creative and the analytical brain is also very important and very rare sometimes in folks that are in marketing, right? So
for sure. And it's really one of those things where I know that I'm not a great designer myself, but I have enough of a creative eye to be able to differentiate. This is really great design. This is crap design. This is mediocre. And even though I don't do the design myself, I'm really good at being able to see that in the work of others. And so I can hire good design in the projects I work with.
Yeah, totally. And it's like I like to say sometimes, marketing is not math or art. It's truly both from that standpoint.
It is really both.
Right? So we're talking design, analytics, and it really supports each other. Although when the early onset of AI, when I used to work at a media agency, and we had a creative team that were building a bunch of ads, and then we had a a system where we could feed these ads into the system, and then the AI would produce maybe like 6 or 7 different other banner ads that we could
Hmm.
test, and the ugly ones won. But I don't think it was the fact that the ugly ones won. I think that sometimes creators or creative folks get too in the detail of the creative that
Sure.
they lose the sense of actually being simplistic. So I
Sure.
think it was the simple ones that won, and obviously the designers were like, but it's not pretty.
But it's not pretty. And sometimes it's just being able to get somebody's attention. It's being able
Yes.
to stand out from the crowd. And when everything is focused on being slick and being pretty, and you just have something that has impact and isn't as pretty, sometimes that actually works really well.
Yes, I'd agree. So moving on, as we were just highlighting and talking about ads, you say most Google ad campaigns fail, but not for the reason people think. So what's actually going on within that setup, and what have you learned in terms of how they fail and why they fail?
So one of the first reasons that most people fail at Google is measurement, because they they set this up, they follow all the things Google tells them to do, not knowing that Google gives you recommendations that are primarily in Google's best interest, not necessarily in your own best interest.
Yes,
Because
totally.
Google's a money printing machine, let's be clear, and it's printing money for itself, not for you. Um, but you don't have measurements set up, and you don't necessarily even know what to measure. So, an example of this would be, wedding photographer hires somebody to set up Google Ads for them, and they hire somebody on Fiverr or something, and that Fiverr person really, they've done a few accounts, but they don't really know what they're doing, and they set up an account and they accept all of the Google recommendations. So they're running broad keywords, and they're running, AI Max, so audience expansion and all of the things. So
AI Max.
I know it's a new thing.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, it's mostly garbage, but
Yeah.
that's how it is. And they generate all these impressions and all these clicks, but they're shocked that none of them convert it. They make no extra money. They
Yeah.
spend $10,000 or $20,000, and all of a sudden they're like, "Where'd that money go? And what did I get out of it?" And they didn't do the front work of saying, well, first of all, let's start out by deciding what is our success, and how do we measure that.
Yeah.
And it could be measured in qualified leads. How many phone calls did I get? If you're selling products, it could be how many products did I sell, or how many dollars in revenue did I sell. But whatever that is, you have to have a good way to measure it. And a lot of people go into running Google Ads with no good way to measure. And setting it up is really sometimes very technical and complex.
Yeah.
And most people don't have any idea about how much effort goes into actually being able to measure digital marketing, effectively. Um, and then the second thing is they do what Google recommends, because, like, well, obviously Google's recommending it. They wouldn't recommend that I do something that's not in my interest,
Yeah.
but oh, they would if it's in their interest.
Yes, totally. Yeah, because they want you to, because they're really targeting folks sometimes from that lower end totem pole of people who don't understand how to do it. So it's a
Hmm.
bot that's basically saying, you should do this and that and test, but people don't have endless budgets to just keep
Right.
throwing money away. And of course they want to make money. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you need them if you want to spend on their platform, but then
Right.
it can hurt you in
Yeah.
more ways than one.
And if you don't know what you're looking for, and you don't know how to measure it, and you don't know like what the rules of engagement really are, you're going to get screwed, and
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. No, you totally are, and that's the problem. So then, Would you say that one of the biggest problems sometimes is that people go out there also and they don't necessarily know who their ideal customer profile is? So a lot of strategy hasn't been developed from an upfront standpoint. I mean, it's like how I say, if you're building a house and you're layering the bricks of the house, but then, one brick is sort of turned this way, come hell or high water, that foundation is not stable, right?
For
So there will
sure.
be cracks, it might fall, there will be complications. So strategy is key to ensuring the right messages in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Strategy is key. And you alluded to messaging, and, messaging towards those ideal client personas is a critical element uh, in the messaging, as is uncovering the authenticity, or, the truth behind the client, behind my client or
Yeah.
the agency's client, so that what you put out there is authentic and true. Because you and I both know that if I put something out there that's really enticing, but it's total BS, it will work for a little while,
Yeah.
but ultimately it will backfire because your clients are not idiots.
Yes. I love that. In the end, we hope so.
we
Uh,
we hope so.
yeah. Yes, because there's I mean, I've had some folks that have come to me and they've been burned quite hard, and sometimes I
Sure.
really ask the question, like, how did you let it get this far?
Hmm.
Right? I mean, I had a client that spent $80,000 on a website that was with an agency out of Mexico.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's green and then there's green and then there's really green,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad. It's really sad, So, but so moving on to I love this stance that you have in terms of, agencies shouldn't own data. And it's and I so love this because I have acquired so many clients whereby all of a sudden we have to take years worth of ads that have been run on the agency side that we
Hmm.
cannot translate, and we have to build a new Facebook platform. We have to be in Facebook jail for X amount of like days or weeks or whatever it is, and start the
Yeah.
engine up from the beginning when, maybe the relationship wasn't great and they just want to move on to somebody else, but then they don't own anything. And I am the true
Right.
believer that companies should own everything, and there should be a clean and simple, okay, thanks, we're moving on from you, whether they've hired somebody internally or they're just moving on
Yeah.
because they want to move on. But
Hmm.
agencies should not own anything that a client has.
Well, especially around the digital world, because, I've seen situations like the worst situation is forwarding phone numbers or tracking
Yes.
numbers. And I had a client who their previous digital marketer refused to turn over the tracking numbers that they were using on their campaigns. And
Oh,
these numbers are out there on the internet, they're saved in people's phones. And then to add insult to injury, this guy forwarded those numbers to some handyman in their area. And, like when they figured out what was going on, that handyman guy was like, "Oh man, this has been great. I've been like rolling in the dough, with all, I've been getting so many calls looking for
yeah.
you."
Yeah.
I was just like, "Oh my gosh."
That's
But, that's
crazy.
pretty much criminal, like it's business interference to do that kind of thing. And agencies do it all the time. They hold your Google Ads account hostage. They hold your local services ads account hostage. They, all of these, I've even seen your domain name,
I've seen
like,
the domain name being held
which is
hostage. Yes.
ridiculous
Yeah.
because, if there's one thing that's foundational to your business presence online, it's your domain name. That's more
Yeah.
important than the
It's who you
website
are.
itself.
Yeah.
Really? And how many thousands of dollars have most of these businesses invested into that domain name after they bought it?
Yeah. It's really
So
scary.
it is. And that's why I created a worksheet and a process for businesses to be able to walk through validating that they have control of their digital assets, so that they understand. I've got a couple of videos so they understand what their digital assets are, why they're important. I call it cover your assets.
Yeah.
um, but how you don't get taken advantage of by some digital weasel who's out there, not telling you that they're paying Google ads, they're marking it up to you, they're controlling the account, they're not, you don't own the account. And when you decide you don't want to work with them, you lost all access to that data and you're having to start over from scratch, which is, as you mentioned with Facebook, with Google, it's the same thing. It's 2 or 3 months to ramp up and add the negative keywords that you're going to need to add and clean everything up to have a clean running campaign.
Yeah, I mean, agencies shouldn't be so, and I don't even think precious is the right word, but it's like if a relationship is severed, just like with any relationship, or there is like a disconnect, or,
Mm-hmm.
we're just no longer in this together, I think that that should just be an amicable separation.
It should.
And clients don't know to look for these type of things specifically as it relates to contracts that are being developed, right?
Yeah.
And we just need to get them to get smarter about what traps they're walking into, because there are a
Yeah.
lot. And it's getting noisier. Just with the, I wouldn't even say the onset of AI. It's really just the explosion, because AI has been around for a long
It's,
time.
but it's gone crazy the last 3 years. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
really crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, we went from having, I think the last time I checked, there was, a variety of 15,000, marketing tools out there. And I think it's on rampant right now, just in
It
terms of
is nuts.
AI growth and explosion and build out and whatever else we want to call it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I do want to dig in further, just, for the purpose of folks listening onto this call. What is really owning your data actually mean? Because there's a variety of different components to it.
Well, I would start with, you are the owner of your domain name. You're the owner of your web hosting account and your website. So, when you pay somebody to design a new website for you, you make sure that they're not, in the contract doesn't say that they own the website. And if you part ways with them, they keep the website. Because I have also, talked to people who wanted to work with me and they're like, oh, but we're going to have to rebuild the website because the current website people also do our Google ads. And they said we'd have to build a new website if we fire them. I was like, that's total crap.
Yeah.
Not right at all.
Yeah.
So all the accounts, so all of the Google accounts, Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Google Search Console, all of Google Merchant Center, if you're a products company,
Yeah.
all of those things need to be in your control and they need to be at a domain alias email address. So not Joe at Google or gmail.com. It needs to be, director at mydomain.com, because that domain, if I part ways with an employee who has control of one of these accounts and I don't have that email address, or a contractor for that matter, I'm screwed then too, because they can just walk away and they have the control and it's not at my domain. If it's at my domain, I have the ability to recover that.
Yes.
Even if they tried to kick me out of my own thing, if the email address associated, if the phone number associated is within my control, so use phone numbers that are on your company phone system, that allow texting. Use domain name emails so that it's all tied to your company domain name. Make sure that your domain names auto renew and that you're not going to lose it. Make sure your domain names are all in one place.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've seen people where they've got like, this one's at Network Solutions and this one's at GoDaddy and this one's at Squarespace Domains and this one's at Wix. And I'm like, okay, we got to get this under
All
control.
consolidated. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I still have like some clients who I've just built websites for, and that's all we've done. And they'll send me a message based on their renewal, on their domain
Uh-huh.
renewal. They're like, is this legit? I'm like, yeah, don't not pay it. Otherwise your website's not going to be up and running, but you
Right.
have to remind them.
But how many times have you also gotten that email where it's like at domain registration of the US.com
Yeah.
and it's totally a fraudulent
Of
site
course.
that's
Yeah.
trying to, it's
I'm getting a lot of those
$150
from
per
Meta, by the
domain.
way.
Oh yeah. Oh, me too.
Oh,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
getting like
Like,
a lot of like something something at gmail.com. You've
oh,
been, awarded like $500 to spend or like something. It's just wild. It's wild.
I'm still getting the your business is in copyright violation or whatever policy violation. Please click this link to verify your Meta Business account. And I'm like, report, lock,
Yeah. The whole nine.
the whole nine.
Yeah. So wild. So let's take a divergence a little bit and talk about conversion and what
All right.
what actually makes someone go from click to customer, because I think it's really important. I mean, there is a lot of test and learn from this phase in particular, but I want you to walk through, that, because I know that you have a stance on things of, it's not hacking, it's not funnels, it's really alignment and trust. But I want to hear you kind of break that down.
So the way I build landing pages is based on, I mean, it's a mindset that Jeffrey and Brian Eisenberg published about close to 20 years ago.
And just for the audience, can you tell us who those guys are?
So Jeffrey and Brian Eisenberg are like they are the OGs of website conversion optimization.
Yeah,
And they wrote a book called Waiting for Your Cat to Bark in, I think, 2006.
I love that
That
title.
was one of the very first like smash it books on website conversion optimization. And one of the terms they coined is persuasion architecture. And, I'm not expert at the level as the inventors of the whole technology, but I've spent a lot of time studying it. And from a structural standpoint, it means that you write your language and you structure your pages in a way that you connect with the four main archetypes in Jungian psychology or in Myers-Briggs typology. You look for the intuitive thinkers, the intuitive feelers, the judging sensors or the SJs, and the SPs, the sensing perceivers. So it is the methodical person, the competitive person, the humanist or like idealist person, and the spontaneous person. And so you have to structure both your language and your content, throughout the page in a way that gives those four types of person the things they need when they need them.
Yep, yep.
And so examples of this would be a spontaneous person needs to know that they've arrived in the correct place and that that there's no friction. You need to make sure that it's really easy if you're a service business to find your phone number, to find a book it now button. You've made it really clear what you do and that they've arrived in the right place. The competitive person needs to know that this is like, they may come to this with very specific outcomes that they're like, here are the three things I need to know. That they're very bottom line, like think CEO personality.
Yeah,
This is the person that's like, I need to know that you're going to take care of my stuff and that you're going to do it right. And, that you're not going to be trying to rip me off. And those are the three things they care about in this transaction. And, if you give them those three things, they're going to feel good. They're going to trust you. They're going to call. The humanist, though, needs that human connection. You need to make this experience for them feel like you're a real person that they trust.
yep.
And so pictures of humans, pictures of puppy dogs, social proof, reviews, anything that connects them to a human reality and builds human trust. And then the methodical type, the SJ type, they want all the details.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that the first three types don't want all the details, you move the details to the bottom. And of course, I'm grossly oversimplifying this process, but that methodical type needs guarantees. They need validation. They need links to the government website where all of the details exist. Like they
Yeah.
need the frequently asked questions that
Yeah.
link to the blog post that has all the details they're looking for.
Sure, sure. That's crazy. So it's like the whole time I'm sitting here, I'm like, what actually gets people to be put in these buckets? I'm like, is it childhood like environments? Is it trauma? What is it that makes up, all of these different archetypes of people?
So
It's wild.
my guess
Yeah.
is that there's a combination of nature and nurture.
Yes.
And, as any parent will tell you, if you've got two kids, you think that if I raise them the same, they're going to be the same when they grow up, but that's not the case. And,
Yeah.
um, there may be family or genetic tendencies towards being, more competitive or more relational. But when it really comes down to it, I think a lot of it is who you're born to be.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And then going back to, the human connection ones, when I used to work at the New York Times, we did a lot of in-mail marketing and advertising for people to sign up to the actual
Sure.
newspaper for newspaper delivery.
Mhm.
And every time we tried to test outpacing the one sort of postcard, the ones that had perforation and it could just
Mhm.
unfold,
Mhm.
the one postcard that had the dog with the newspaper in its mouth at the stoop of the house won every time in terms of conversion, and nothing else beat that. It was just absurd. It was absurd.
Everybody loves dogs. I mean,
Everyone
puppy
loves
dogs are
dogs.
so cute.
Yeah, it was wild. Maybe even those who secretly, didn't still bought it from that one in
Oh, yeah.
general. So,
Well, I think
um,
there's an evolutionary connection. We've spent the last 40,000 years hanging out with dogs,
yeah.
and they're man's best friend for a reason.
I completely agree. I have two, and I know, and they're extremely different as well. So let's talk about the cheap marketing trap. A lot of small businesses go from cheapest option. What's the real cost of that? I mean, you and I both know the answer to this, and we broached a little bit on it in terms of wasting money and a lot of snake oil out there as it relates to marketing. And it's funny because a lot of the times when I go to networking events and people ask what I do and I say I do marketing, it's just like a glaze goes over their eyes, because it's one thing they don't understand, and
Right.
because it's been so overly complicated, but the landscape is truly simplistic in its nature. But
Yeah.
because there is so much external noise, or one service or product or one platform is dominating the market because they have the spend in terms of share to reach more people, and
Yeah.
small business owners are like on a HubSpot when they shouldn't be. Even though I love
I need
HubSpot.
Salesforce. I need Salesforce. All the big guys are using
Yeah,
Salesforce.
it's like, let's stop talking about the big guys and like actually understand where you are as a business.
And $100,000 a year later in
Yeah.
consulting fees.
Yes. Yeah, totally. So yeah, let's go back to the detriment of choosing the cheaper option when positioned. And we're not saying not to, but I think, and I want to hear your take, but it's really going into the details of what the actual outcome that is being promised. Like, what is that dream offer to you as a client?
So, as I'm looking at that, I think about when people are wanting to buy the cheapest option. In my experience on the web design or web development side, usually that person that wants the $500 website really wants a $10,000 website for $500. They don't really want less. They just want to pay less.
Yeah.
And if you get the $500 website, you will get what you pay for. And if you get the $100 a month Google Ads Manager, you are going to get someone who's generally incompetent and will probably cost you, on your spend, 2, 3, 5 times more per conversion action. And it may be even worse than that. I mean,
Yep.
you may blow $10,000 and get nothing in return and decide that Google Ads just doesn't work for your business, when what really didn't work is the person you hired because they were incompetent. So I think if you don't realize how much work is involved in doing something right, you don't appreciate that it does cost money to get people who have experience who are competent, who have done this, for more than the last year, and have that knowledge about what will and won't work.
Yes. I completely agree. And then it's having to backtrack, right? It's for example, a lot of the clients that I've worked with who have chosen the cheapest route. We're it's not that we're pausing the business, but we're having to go back and optimize and do some due diligence and cleanup to then get them to where they should have been when they launched their business.
For sure. And you
Yeah.
have to retool, and retooling costs you more money than tooling it right in
Yeah.
the beginning.
Or I'll give an example, for those folks that are listening, and maybe I've mentioned this before. It's also deciding not to do something that could be a detriment to your business. So I worked with, let's just say, a health clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously they have a database. It's, the database is important because it's HIPAA compliancy and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. And this was, I would say, almost 4 years ago. They got hit with one of the largest hacking. I don't even want to call these guys a firm, but maybe they are a firm. I mean, one of the largest hacking firms that's out there. FBI and everything was involved, but it's
Mm-hmm.
because he cheapened himself not to get cybersecurity on his website and on his EMR, his medical record
Yeah.
system, and they hijacked it. And at this point, it's a detriment to him as a business, and it's a safety to his patients, right? So
Oh, for sure.
it's these kinds of things that you need to be thinking about, even outside of marketing. What is the protection of once you do bring in people into your system, and what industry you're in? That is going to be extremely crucial.
Well, and that goes for your website hosting as well.
For
I mean, you
sure.
brought that up, and I have brought on so many clients over the years whose websites had been hacked because they were on hosting platforms where it's a shared account with 100 other websites, and the security on the server was not very high, and they ended up, they weren't maintaining their WordPress, and they weren't maintaining their plugins, and they didn't know they had to. And they had a one-time engagement kind of situation on the build of the website, so there was no ongoing relationship where things were being maintained properly. And then all of a sudden they're spending as much money getting the hack removed from their website as they paid in the first place to have the site built,
Yeah.
because nobody's eyes were on the ball. And this is when I do hosting, why I only do managed hosting now. I only host sites that I maintain. We load updates every month. We make sure that all the plugins and the server software are up to date, that the themes are up to date. Because if you get hacked, like, you're screwed. Like,
Yeah.
this is just a major, major problem. And so thankfully, in the last 15 years, I haven't had any of the sites I've hosted get hacked, because I make sure that those plugin updates happen and that the server updates happen. And we run backups every hour
Yeah.
because it matters.
It does. It does. I mean, it sounds like such a simple thing, but it's like, our poor business owners really don't. They're so in the weeds of building out their product or their service and
For
getting to
sure.
market, that it's just like, let's just go, let's just go, let's just go. And it's not about let's just go. It's about how you're going to get to market to ensure
Right.
that you don't fall on your face, whether it's the first year, second, third, fourth, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, and I can't expect that any of these owners really know any better when it comes to the technology,
Yeah.
because it's complicated. Most people see it as a black box. Most of the agencies aren't transparent about these things. And so, they don't know the difference between SEO and
Oh
Google
yeah.
Ads. And, when somebody calls them and says, "Hey, I can get you on the first page of Google," they're like, "Ooh, I want to be on the first page of Google." And we can all be on the first page of Google by buying an ad.
Yeah. 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 Totally. So I want to shift into scaling without losing your soul.
Ooh, I like that.
So you talked about scaling past you talked about scaling past 1 million without losing your soul.
Yeah.
So what does that actually mean?
So starting a small business is really hard.
Yeah.
Anybody who's done it knows how hard it is to grow, how hard it is to replace yourself in the technical capacity. I've had to do that twice now in my own businesses, and it's one of those things that really is painful because I love the technical side of things,
Yeah.
but I also know that I can't take care of my clients if I have to be the one who's doing all the technical things. And so there's always a point, for some businesses, it's a 500,000. For other businesses, it's 1 million, where you have to start letting go of things. And letting go of things feels painful. It feels like you're letting go of a part of yourself,
Yeah.
but you have to do it. There's no two ways about it. Otherwise, you will crush your soul. You
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
you will like burn yourself out. And generally speaking, this is the kind of thing that on the small side of the business, it'll happen at a 500,000. On the big side, you may be able to make it to 2.5 million without removing yourself from the field entirely. But somewhere in there, you're going to come to a point where you say, okay, something's got to give here.
Yep.
Something has to shift, and I have to step into running this business. And I can't, first, I can't do the technical stuff. Then I can't manage everything. I need other people to take on more of these responsibilities.
Exactly.
And ultimately, if you choose the right people to put in those roles, you'll end up a lot happier.
Oh, for
But it
those of you
doesn't
that
happen
couldn't see,
overnight.
Vi's expression was great. It was a nice mic drop. Yeah. No, I mean, it's totally true. It really is, I mean, and I also like, on the flip side, don't forget who you are once you get to that point,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
And what
Because a
you
lot of
really care
companies
about.
do. Yeah. And what you really care about going out the gate, because I think it was Casper where with every mattress that was sent, there was a personal note that was written, hope you enjoy the mattress. So I'm like, okay, I understand that you can't be sending out like 3,000 of those on a monthly basis in terms of where you are right now, but finagle it. There are companies that, can do handwritten notes that you can spend the money. They
Yeah,
just weren't sending them anymore at all. So there
right.
wasn't that personal touch anymore.
And being true to who you are foundationally is a key element of marketing, really.
Yeah.
And when it's something like that personal note, like they could have paid somebody on their staff to do it.
Yep.
Somebody for $20 an hour would handwrite those notes. And if they couldn't get somebody to do it in the US, they could get somebody to do it somewhere else.
Yep.
And that's way better than just getting rid of it. But personalization is the one thing we have in the age of AI. Like real human connection is what we need now more than ever. I see it in local service businesses where they're outsourcing their call centers to AI, and I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like this is one of your
It's
strategic
horrible.
advantages over these big private equity companies that don't care about people. Your advantage is you do care about people, and you're going to take care of them like you're their family. They're your
Yeah.
family. And if you don't do that, you've lost that edge.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. So, the future of marketing. You talk a lot about the death of the funnel. What's
Yeah.
replacing it?
Well, the truth is there is a funnel and there's a messy middle, and all these buzzwords that we in the marketing world know. The truth is when people are, if you give them enough connection that you become the brand they know, like, and trust through mass media, and other ways, like community connection and all the things you can do to create those relationships. If you market relationally, they have already chose you before they hit Google.
Yeah.
And that is the only way you beat Google, because the way things are going is, hey, Google, my air conditioner is broken. Who's the best HVAC company locally to fix this? And Google says, 5-star AC is available tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. Would you like me to make you an appointment? How much is that going to cost? That'll be $189 for the service call.
Yeah.
Okay, book it. I have booked that and charged that to your MasterCard. Now, that doesn't exist today, but about 2 years ago, I predicted that this would be happening in the next 2 or 3 years. It is absolutely just, we're a stone's throw away from that happening.
Yes. Yes. Totally. So, any last words?
Well, ultimately, let's give our customers an opportunity, or our listeners an opportunity to protect their businesses. I have a resource on my website, wizardofadsonline.com,
And we'll link it in the commentary.
that is called Cover Your Assets. And it gives you education on how to protect your digital assets, and also gives you instruction on what they are, why they're important. And there's a worksheet, free worksheet that you can fill out yourself for your business and identify those weaknesses you may have so that you're protected. You protect your business continuity. Make sure you don't get taken advantage of by a digital weasel.
Yeah, a digital weasel. I love it. So before we let you go, though, I want to we do like a fireside round. So whatever comes to mind,
All
we
right.
ask you 3 questions. So one word that describes you as a entrepreneur.
Oh, one word. Um, So the first thing that came to my mind was Renaissance Man, which is
Yeah.
2 words, not one,
Yeah.
and is kind of like an ego stroke, patting myself on the back. But
Yeah.
um, that was the first thing that came to my mind, so I said it. Really, the stability, stable was the next thing that came to my mind,
Yeah.
which is that I strive to bring stability to my clients' businesses
I love that.
and bring that clarity to them so that they're not freaking out all the time because they don't know what's going on inside the box.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. What's one habit that you wish founders and entrepreneurs would really start to own?
Ooh, I like that one. So the habit would be taking time to work on your business and not just in it, which we've all heard 100
Yeah.
times, but
Yeah.
it really is one of the most critical elements to moving your business forward.
Agreed. One myth that you would wish that would just bust out as it relates to marketing.
The myth that if you spend more on Google, you will get more results, which
true.
it is partially true, because
Yes.
there's an element.
There's an aspect to it.
Yeah, and if you are in the right constraints, it's true. But there are a lot of times where people think that, well, like, we spent this much money and got this much back. If we just throw that same amount more, we're going to get twice as much money back, right?
Yeah.
And that's really it's seldom the case.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I love it. This has been fantastic, Vi. I really appreciate your time and jumping on the pod. And I honestly think, like, if there's one thing to take away from this episode, it's marketing isn't about doing more. It's about understanding better. And we want everyone to really get on that bandwagon, to truly know what they're getting into and know when to say yes and when to say no.
Absolutely. And that's a good one for us entrepreneurs too, is know when to say no.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Thank you so much, Vi. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Sasha. It was a pleasure being on your show. I really appreciate it.